Okay, Melanie's trying to get back in. She was kicked out, and yeah, she's trying to get back in. If we'll just have a little bit of patience for 2 minutes, please. Thank you. Okay. Councillors, I think while we're waiting for Melanie, I think we can probably continue. And when Melanie's ready, then we can give Melanie the opportunity to present, if it's fine with you, committee.
Fine with me.
Okay, so Mr. Kalani, when Melanie is ready, we're going to go to the minutes of the previous meeting, and when Melanie is ready, we will come back to Melanie on that one. We're going to confirmation on the minutes of the previous meeting, 13 October 2020, which starts on page 4. So on page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If there is nothing, then can we go back to page number 4? Did the minutes of the Finance and Corporate Services meeting held on 13 October be confirmed? Committee members?
Chair, I wasn't
Yes,
here, so
Chair.
I can't confirm.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Matiwani. Then we're on bullet number 6, the execution list. Okay, any questions on the execution list? I don't see hands. Let me just up here. Good. Councillors, I don't see any hands on the execution list, which means that we are all happy with the execution list. And I want to thank the Director Corporate and the officials in their department, relevant departments, for making sure that the execution list has been executed and that the list is there's actually reports on being, the people are actually reporting on this. So I actually want to thank the administration for doing their part on this. Thank you. Then we will go now to new matters submitted by the municipal manager, acting municipal manager. Bullet 7.1, application to lease a portion of portion 4 farm 185 Renendal. I think we went on a site visit on this one. So Nonhlanhla, can you just give us a brief on this one? Councillor Wasserman.
Chair, I have a question, but I'll wait until the brief has been given.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wasserman.
Sorry, Chair. I am so sorry for that. I'm back.
Okay. Councillors, with your indulgence, can we just give Melanie this opportunity? And Jill, can you just go and put back on the PowerPoint? Thank you.
Okay, can I start, Chairperson?
The floor is yours, Melanie.
Okay, my apologies. Sometimes these things just does what they want to do. So I sincerely apologize for that. Just briefly, a little bit of background. If you can go to the first slide, Jill. As most of you would know, that we have been doing some work since last year in the municipality with the PPU unit and Speaker's office and some of the departments as well. That particular part of the program came to an end, but we got a new tranche of funding for further working with civil society organizations, as well as with the municipality, especially with PPU and also with departments. To that end, we did an intensive research in the beginning of the year, looking at what are the things that are hampering or standing in the way of working together with the communities of Knysna, public participation in particular. What are the problems, especially in relation to the closure of the N2 all the time, when there are issues arising in some of the communities. But also looking at internal things such as communication, participation in the IDP, the budget, and so forth. And we came up with a document which we tabled to the acting MM, the Speaker's office, as well as the Mayor's office, where we outlined what the particular problems were. And some of the problems that I can just highlight, maybe 2 or 3, are communication between the municipality and the communities. That is not always up to scratch. Internal communication, where often departments are working in silos and not finding each other on talking together when it comes to community issues. And then some of the problems that have been existing within the municipality due to instability. And that has got to do with all the by-elections that you've had, the changes in mayors and speakers and so forth. So on the basis of that, we started working then again. So just for those that doesn't know who we are the Education and Training Unit, which is a non-profit organization, and we work with the municipality on civil society organizations and a government partnership program. Now, this program is a Swedish funded program. We are not getting any funding from the municipality for this program. We do this program because we like to assist the municipality in working with civil society or with civil society organizations, but also working with other government departments, and it is aimed at strengthening and deepening democracy through enhanced public participation. The purpose of the civil society organizations and government program is to deepen democracy and development in Knysna, and supporting municipalities in building partnerships with civil society organizations to improve the service delivery of services. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. After then discussing with the MM, this is in line with our program. We thought that it would be a good idea to come up with a program called a social compact between the municipality and the Society of Knysna. And this is also in line with the implementation of our program because it enhances inclusivity. It looks at issues of diversity and unity. It talks about transparency. and accountability from the municipality to its people, but also building trust and commitment and respect amongst all of us that are staying in Knysna. Next slide. This is not new to South Africa. And in South Africa's participatory approach is to build on two main principles. One is building the representative structures that enhance the democratic participation, so working with ward committees, stakeholder forums, governing bodies, clinic committees, hospital boards, community policing forums, and any other forums that exist within Knysna. And secondly, consulting and involving communities and the organization in key municipal processes such as the IDP, budgeting, performance management, and service delivery. I think most of our communities doesn't know that they actually also have an active role to play in performance management, looking at what the municipality did in terms of the key performance areas, as well as the service delivery to the community. Next slide. So the proposal, the social contract proposal itself will outline the conceptual understanding of a social contract, and we also propose an approach to building a social contract in Knysna. Next slide. So our conceptual understanding is based on an underlying understanding that the success of any government is rooted in its partnership with society, meeting the needs of the people and upholding the values of society. The NDP calls for a social compact to reduce poverty and inequality and raise employment and investment, which must find expression at regional and local level. There are various understandings of the concept of a social contract, but at the core is an agreement among individual people in a society or between the people and the government that outlines the rights and duties of each party while building local solidarity. Next slide. So if you look at our constitution and the settlement through the negotiations in the 1990s, this includes political and socio-economic issues where these were effectively national compacts that were agreed upon. The idea of a social compact is relatively a simple one. All stakeholders buy into a clearly articulated vision, have a shared analysis of constraints, and are committed to finding solutions, and parties understand the objective of the compact. The compact should offer attractive but indeed compelling benefits to each party, and all parties should believe that the necessary sacrifices are relatively equitable, shared amongst all participants. And if I can make an example, I was there during the only protest, and the way the discussions were between leadership and the people of Only. That is the beginning of such a social compact where we agree on things and disagree, but we come to an understanding of what the outcomes can be. Next slide. So the social contract is not a top-down process. Whilst the municipality may initiate the process, it understands the need to bring all the social partners, labor, business, community-based organizations, and sectoral formations from the start to ensure buy-in and agreement on goals and priorities and actions. So everyone will work together. We believe that adopting this action will put Knysna Municipality on a new development path, and I would rather add on a path that it was before, and it could put it back there, and probably a better one. Next slide. So the outcomes that we are proposing is that to ensure provision of services to communities in a sustainable manner, promote social and economic development, promote a safe and healthy environment, and encourage the involvement of communities and community organizations in matters of importance to local government. Next slide. The preconditions for a successful social contract. So for all social contracts to work, the following conditions must be met. There must be preparedness by all role players in Knysna to make real efforts and concessions to build a better Knysna. There must be genuine commitment by all role players to the social contract process. Municipality lending structural policy support to the contract process by providing leadership, resources, clean government, accountability, excellent service delivery, growth in local economic development, effective communication, and public participation processes. The discouraging insider-outsider imbalances and inclusion. In other words, the process values everyone and their contributions. And then lastly, ensuring sustainability with a strong focus on implementation. Next slide. It should be based on a set of core values, inclusive values that build on the past and embrace the future. It will recognize the fundamental beliefs that we are linked by common humanity, a belief that binds together all our efforts to secure a fair and inclusive democracy and unites us to care for one another. It will assist everyone to rethink, reclaim, and boldly articulate what the municipality stands for. The social compact or contract seeks to build social cohesion where there is mutual respect for people from diverse backgrounds with a common purpose of improving the lives of all. So it would not be all the only people or all the people of the north or all the people that are staying on that side. The social compact seeks that there is a cohesion between all of us of mutual respect from diverse backgrounds. It recognizes differences and disagreements and provides a framework to address these in the spirit of building our community trust and inclusiveness through dialogue. Next slide. We therefore then propose the following steps as a way forward to building a social compact or contract in Knysna. So we are in the session now, but we also propose further that the session with key municipal councillors, speaker, mayor, mayoral committee, chief whips, and key officials, the municipal manager and heads of departments to agree on a conceptual understanding of a social compact and the broad outcomes the municipality seeks to achieve. And yeah, I can say we won't come with the solutions. Yeah, it will come from you, and we will facilitate that process so that we can all agree on what the outcomes of such a social compact will be. Then secondly, the heads of departments and E2 can facilitate, go back quickly, can facilitate sessions with each department to ensure that all employees understand the approach once we've come up with the approach in building such a social compact. And then a session with all councillors to discuss the conceptual understanding and come with broad outcomes. Next one. Next slide. Then we also would like to identify key social partners from business, labor, community-based organizations, and sectoral forums with whom the municipality would engage with to finalize the social contract. And then lastly, to consult widely with all social partners at ward and sectoral levels in the build-up to a joint session to agree on a set of outcomes and responsibilities for all partners committed to the social contract. This will take place under conditions of the new normal and the need for physical distancing. That concludes the presentation in brief. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Melanie, for this presentation. Councillors, can we note this presentation of Melanie Tembu?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Now we are back on 7.1. On page 17, Knysna, can you just take us through on this one, please?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, this is an application to lease a portion of a portion for Farm 185 Renendal. This application was received from Atlas Tower, who wants to erect a 64 square meter telecommunications base station on this particular site. The lease request is for a period of 9 years and 11 months. This property is owned by the municipality and is situated in a low-income residential area in Renendal. The property is currently zoned agricultural zone 1. Part of the property is currently being utilized as a soccer field. Property is currently valued at 650,000 on a general valuation roll of the municipality. The property will, the proposed lease will be valued by a professional valuer because it's going to be a commercial lease. Another point that I would like to state is that the proposed tower, should it be approved, the tower will revert to the Knysna municipality at the end of the lease agreement. In addition to that, one of the conditions would be that Knysna municipality would get first preference for the usage of the tower, should it require at no additional cost. Another addition will be that there will be a periodic review of the agreement in every 3 years. Meaning we will look at if the rental amounts are still market related. The applicant will also be responsible for all the costs that are related to this lease. Okay, so our recommendation is that the committee notes this report, and that the municipal manager be appointed to appoint a registered professional valuer to determine the fair market value of that portion at the applicant's cost, and that the intended use be advertised in public, and that the lease be fixed for a period of 9 years and 11 months, and that the municipality does not deem this portion as needed to provide minimum level of basic needs, and that the applicant be responsible for all the costs related to this lease. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, any questions on this, Councillor Wasserman?
Thanks, Chair. I have a few questions, so I'm going to just ask them all, and then if I can get the answers to all of them at the end. Chairperson, on page 22, the issue was dealt with a little bit now, but I just need some further clarity, possibly from our legal department. At the top of page 22, it says that the long-term lease agreement should include a periodic review of the agreement once every 3 years. And I just wanted to get clarity on how exactly that would work and what would be reviewed, because ideally in the lease agreement you should put in what the rental amount is, and either that escalates annually But I think to review the lease every 3 years might actually be problematic. So I just wanted to get Melanie's input about what exactly that would entail. Then also on page 22, the technical director said that we may need servitudes over the property. And I don't see that in the recommendations. So I just wanted to know, do these servitudes need to be registered? And is that actually something that we should be including in the recommendation at all? Then IT's request also on page 22 was that they want, let's just find where they said it. IT says they want to be able to install equipment on the tower at no charge. Doesn't that need to be in the recommendations so that it's definitely in the lease itself? Community Services also wants to be able to use that as a base station for IT and radio communications. So I think that needs to be in the lease. Then planning raised an issue about where the thing would be situated. And I see from the diagram, the GIS, that it's a large property and we haven't pinpointed where it will be and what portion of that earth it will be situated on exactly. So let's have a look here. Planning said the lease should be limited to a portion of the property that will not require the disturbance of vegetation. So which portion of the property exactly, and will that be stipulated in the lease? And what will the size of the lease be in relation to the ground? And then the recommendations on page 23, Chairperson, it talks about, let me just go there. I'm sorry, very, very slow computer. Chair, it says the thing will be advertised. So what happens after the advert was my first question. Does it come back to council? Or if there are objections or no objections, what is the process that gets followed after that? And then on page 30, there was actually in the document from the applicants, they suggested a condition. They said a condition can be included in the approval, stating that should it be proven that there is a negative health effect from the base station, and the space station falls within those guidelines, it will be rectified, and if not possible, be decommissioned. And I think that's actually quite an important thing to put either into the lease itself and into our approvals. Thanks, Chair, that's a lot. If anything needs to be repeated, let me know and I'll gladly do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Nonhlanhla.
Okay, if we look at page 20, section 45 of the Asset Transfer Regulations of 2008, what's this point? I'll tell you now. Section 3A, which will be on page 21, says a periodic review of the agreement once every 3 years in case of an agreement for longer than 3 years. So the provision, it provides the Act provides for that. So we can do a periodic review of the agreements if they are more than 3 years. So this one, it's 9-year agreement. So you can review it in every 3 years. So what happens in the review is that you review the conditions, the current conditions or state of the agreement, which includes also the current rental that is being paid. So you will check that if the amount that is being paid is still market-related rentals. So then you would have to do another valuation to determine if the rental that's being paid is actual market-related. Although there will be an escalation, however, that is the process that happens. This is from my previous experience when it comes to lease agreements when there's a condition to review a lease agreement. So you have to do a new valuation on the third year to check that the rental that is being paid is still market related, and then also check if there are conditions that are currently on the lease are still fine, or are there any other additions that you would need to put in. So that's one. The second question, I think it was technical services. What technical services said, yes, where the proposed tower will be must be 10 meters away from the sewer lines. Apparently there's sewer lines there and bulk raw water mains. So their argument was that if there are any future housing needs, then they would need to register servitudes. But in our opinion, the base station will be only 64 square meters. I mean, that's not a big, site. So I think it can be worked around it. And then another one, IT said that they would want to be able to install equipment. Yes, we can add that as part of the conditions. As I've mentioned on one point, that will be added in the agreement, but we can put it in the recommendation as well, that Knysna should get preference for the usage of the tower should it require at no cost to the municipality. So we can add that in as one of we will add it as one of the conditions on the lease, but we can also add it on the recommendation. Another question, where the tower will be, I think if we can look on page 26, this picture is not very, very clear, but the proposed area or where this tower will be is just it's close to an ablution facility of this property, because this is a soccer field, so it's next to that ablution facility. What the departments also felt is that it is, especially environment, they felt that it will have no disturbance as it is far from the residential area, and also there was not a lot of vegetation around the area, so hence they supported the application. I can't remember now what else I need to answer. Yes, please.
It was just, thank you very much for your answers so far. It was just what happens after the adverts. If there are objections, if there aren't objections, what is the process after the advert? Does it come back to council? And then the last question was the conditions that was suggested on page 30 in terms of if there's a health risk.
Okay. Yes, it's supposed to come back to the section 80 after the advert, and once we get the valuation. So when it will be a report back to the section 80 with the valuation and what's this thing, objections or comments. And then the point that you've just mentioned on page 30, we can also add it on as one of the conditions of the lease. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Knysna. I see Melanie's hand and I see Director Technical's hand. Knysna, I think we went on a site visit here. Councillor Teokolo was with, and when we actually went to the sports field and looked at the site where they want to put this tower, and I think we then said that it is going to just not be it's going to be a disturbance where they actually wanted that we should actually move it away and look for it in that current space a little bit further, because you have lots of kids. So it is a soccer field, lots of kids and whatever. And and they'll be climbing up this tower. So we thought that we need to then put it on a side where it is not going to be an interference for kids. Director Technical, I see your hand is up.
Yes, Madam Chair. I hear what the properties manager is saying, but remember what our comment is saying is that on the northern boundary, it must be 10 meters away from the sewer line and the raw water mains. So basically what we're saying is we understand that the footprint is very small, but we're also saying that it must be away from the infrastructure there. So I think we must just take note of the fact that although the footprint might be small, that we must stay away from any services or future services that we project. So maybe we can make that a condition. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Melanie, I see your hand is up. And then Nonhlanhla.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, just to add on what Nonhlanhla has responded to Councillor Wasserman with regards to the review, it is mainly in there for us to review compliance with the conditions. What we have found within the municipality, and it has been the cause of many disputes and also litigation matters, is that the municipality has not checked, although at times it is with developments, that we have not followed through to check whether or not there has been compliance with the conditions of approval. And at some stage, if I may just case in point, pull out the Brenton Haven arbitration matter that cost this municipality quite a significant amount of money, is that we did not follow through on whether or not the conditions have been complied with. So we would like to build that into long-term leases to see whether or not those conditions have been complied with. With regards to the advertising, I think, Councillor Wasserman, having listened to you, it might be advisable at this stage for council to, in principle, approve the leasing, but then go out and advertise and come back whether or not we've received objections. Because if we are now going to approve the recommendations as they stand, we are saying yes, but we are still going to advertise, and now we receive objections. And in effect, council would then be functus because they've already agreed to go ahead with the lease. And I do agree with the Councillor Krauts and Pravir that we make sure that the conditions form part of the recommendations so that at any time there is no disparity as to what is contained in the lease and what council has agreed to. I have also picked up in practice that that is also quite a bone of contention when it comes to approvals, whether or not it be development approvals or lease approvals. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Just firstly to let you know that Councillor Chikula is trying to get back in. The system kicked him out of the meeting. So thanks, Chair, and I agree with everything that has been said, that it come back to Council and that the 3 items that have been raised be included in the draft lease agreement so that we approve in principle, but that we advertise and then only approve, and that those things be added so that Knysna get preference with regards to the use of the thing, that the condition on page 30 with regards to health implications, and also very specifically about where this thing must stand in relation to the earth that it is positioned on. I think all very important to deal with. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Did we capture everything that that was said, that we now must just agree with this in principle before it goes out for advertisement? Councillor?
Chair, I think we must add those three as recommendations to make sure that they are captured in what is being advertised, possibly.
Noted, Councillor Wasserman. Can we all agree on that? Committee?
Chair, I'd be
Yes,
more comfortable if we actually say what it is that we are
Yes,
agreeing
Chair.
on.
Okay. Councillor Wasserman, do you have all the recommendations you want to add, or can we just ask Carl if he's captured everything and then can just read back to us?
That'd be great if Carl has got it there. But just my list is that Knysna should get preference with regard to the use of the tower for equipment. And then I think if technical services can help with regards to how we word where this thing must go specifically on the property. And then, Chairperson, is also the recommendation on page 30, which is that should it be proven that there is a negative health effect from the base station, that it will be rectified, or if not possible, be decommissioned. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I think that has all been captured. Carl, Joe?
Thank you, Chairperson. It is captured as such. The second one mentioned by Councillor Wasserman, perhaps you could consider that the location be finalized in consultation with the Director Infrastructure Services.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, committee members. Can we move on to 7.2, the application to lease a portion of R 4822 only Knysna. Knysna, can you give us a run through on this one, please?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, this application is to lease a portion of Earth 4822 only Knysna. I think this came from Jackson Simpson. I stand to be corrected. So the applicant is wanting to lease an approximately 40 square meters portion of land for the purposes of establishing a community park and vegetable garden. According to the applicant, he's currently operating a takeaway outlet from his property, which is opposite our property 4822, and required a portion of the property to utilize as a sitting area for people coming to buy from his business, and also as a community park and vegetable garden. So the applicant is seeking a lease period of 10 years for the utilization of the property. The property is situated, or the portion is currently owned by the municipality, and is situated in the residential area, the corner of Calendar Street and Elephant Street. And the main property measures approximately 31,000 square meters. The property is currently zoned private open space and undetermined zone. The property is a vacant wetland with dense vegetation or bush. The property is currently valued at 10,000 Rand on the general valuation roll of the municipality. This and I think there was no objections to this one. What happened was the departments went on a site visit on this property to establish what was really taking place. And what we found is that the applicant has already put on, it's like a sitting area. So there's no vegetable garden there. There is no, what is he saying, community garden. So it's like a sitting area. He's beautified the area. It's a sitting area, nicely done. And we measured the site, and it's actually about 100 square meters instead of 40, as he stated. So, so what the departments felt is that this is a normal commercial lease, so there's no community benefit to it because the sitting area is for his business. So the lease will be, we will require a evaluation from a professional valuer. The applicant will be responsible for all the charges or costs that are related to the leasing of this property. And if we go to the recommendation, another condition is that since it's a long-term lease, again, we will have to do a periodic review of the agreement. And then if we go to the comments of the departments, as I said, under planning and development, a site visit has revealed that the applicant is already utilizing the property, and the portion being used measures approximately 100 square meter. And what we further said from environment, that further disturbances of the area is prohibited, so the applicant cannot develop any further. Okay. There's also another thing, we went with technical services, that the applicant must take note of a stormwater flow. So there's a stormwater flow also in the area. So what we are saying is that our recommendations are that the committee takes note of this report, and that the intended leasing of the property was already advertised in public for comments and objections, and that no objections and comments were received, and that the advertising of this portion without the municipal council's approval be ratified and approved by municipal council, and that the acting municipal manager appoint a registered valuer to determine the market value of this portion at the applicant's cost, and that the lease be for a period of 9 years and 11 months, and that the 100 square meters is not deemed needed to provide minimum level basic services, and that the applicant be responsible for all the costs. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Councillor Matika's hand, and then I see Director Planning.
No, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, you know, normally I like to ask this question, because sometimes market-related can say that in many ways. So I just want to check exactly, when we talk about market-related in terms of these properties, is there no way we could specify that this is how much per month that they will be able to rent this piece of land? Because, you know, we'll agree here, you know, it's market-related. When a person needs to sign the person needs to sign an agreement, you'll find out the market-related cost is about 2,000, it's about 4,000 per month.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Director Planning, I did note your hand. However, I think I'll give to Councillor Wasserman and then to you, if that's fine with you, Director Planning.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I just want us perhaps to be more specific in the recommendations, because we say that we intend leasing a portion of the earth, but that earth is quite big and the portion that we intend leasing is quite small. So I would like us to be more specific about the area that is going to be leased, or at least the size of it, especially in the light of the Director Planning's comments that that he shouldn't develop any further. So is it possible to say that the intended leasing of 100 square meters of the portion, and that in the lease one specifies exactly what the area is that will go to the applicants? Thanks.
Thank you, Director Planning.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just in the light of the further comments made by the manager for properties, because when this application was first advertised a while ago and when it came around for comments now, it still seemed apparent that it was intended to be a community vegetable garden and really a premises for the community at large to be able to use as a community facility. If in the light of what she said, that it seems almost now a strict commercial enterprise, the Council's resolution should then also just refer to the fact that this applicant would need to bring commensurate land use applications to enable the utilization for the purposes of having it now as a commercial space for people to be able to use in relation to his business. So I would just like for that to be quite clear so that the applicant does not assume that the situation as it existed at the time, where the current zoning allows for community type facilities as was originally intended and not per se for the commercial utilization that the manager had described this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. I assume that is the old hand. Matika? Oh, it's an old hand. Thank you, Director Planning. Then also I would suggest that we actually go on to a site visit. That the councillors go on a site visit to this area, because I also believe that it is for commercial use and not just for the gardening as it was advertised. So I would rather also suggest that we included the site visit into the recommendation before this item go to the MACO. Because I do not believe we went on a site visit. Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's a good idea. Also, I'm worried that if the advertisement said that it was for a garden and it's actually for a commercial venture, that we need to advertise again. Don't you think?
Yes, most definitely. Can someone just guide us on this? Because we really need the site visit so that we can actually also apply our minds in exactly what it is that is happening there. And then we need to actually come up with a proper recommendation. Councillor Wasserman, do you agree on that?
Yes, Chair, I do.
Which then means that we will need a special meeting, a special Section 80 meeting before this item then goes to the MACO. Am I right on this one?
Chair, can I just ask, so we agree that there's a need to advertise again. So can it in fact go to the MACO if the advertising has not been correct?
We can do that. Okay, so we all agree that we must go to a site visit before the mayoral committee meeting, before a mayoral committee meeting, and that the recommendations then be referred to the MACO.
Chair?
Yes.
So just again, if someone can just advise us with regards to the advertising, what the process is. Do we have to advertise again before we can go to the MACO with this?
Okay, thank you. Okay, Matika. Matika, I know you.
I also like to agree with Councillor Wasserman, because if we are saying that we must re-advertise, so which means it must not go to the MACO, because that's not going to make the time. Normally advertisements last about a month. So I don't think it's going to be able to go to MACO if we're going to re-advertise.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Matika. Melanie?
Chair, may I suggest that we, for the purposes of this meeting, since there now seems to be uncertainty with regard to the community garden or not, and the fact that the committee would like to go and do a site inspection, that we withdraw this item at this point in time, do the advertisement, and once you've had the site inspection, we bring it back after the advertising period has closed.
Committee members,
That's fine with me.
totally agree on that one. So we'll do a site visit before this item comes back to the Section 80 committee meeting. Thank you. So with this item will be withdrawn.
Agreed.
Thank you. Let's move.
Okay, so the next item that we have in front of us is an application to purchase a portion of Earth 243 Knysna. An application came through requesting to purchase a portion of the said Earth 243. The proposed portion that they want to purchase is about 1,000 square meters. And the purpose of this is to establish a recycling business. So according to the applicant has an existing recycling business and requires a bigger space for her business, hence this application. So the parent property or the main property is currently owned by the municipality. It is situated in a residential area accessible from Assegai Road and the N2 highway. And the parent property measures approximately 413,200 square meters. Okay, so the property is currently zoned, undetermined zone. The subject property is currently vacant land with dense vegetation. I could not get a current market value as per the general valuation rule. I think this the income is supposed to just note that we could not get a valuation for the property 243. And then what we establish is that the property is definitely needed to provide minimum level basic services, as it has been earmarked for middle income residential development. And in addition, the proposed recycling business would have a negative impact on the environment, as there is a residential area or residential properties adjacent to the subject property. Okay, so the comments from the departments all was that they are supporting the recommendations on this item, to say that we will not support this application, and that the Municipal Council not approved to dispose this property because it has been earmarked for middle income residential development. Thank you.
Thank you, Knysna. So committee members, we're going with the recommendation as it is?
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, let's move on to the next item, 7.4. Application to purchase R596 Sedgefield. Knysna, I think we went on a site visit for this one.
Yes. Okay, an application came to purchase a R596 in Sedgefield. The application came through to us. The purposes for this was for residential purposes. So the applicant wants to build a house or a dwelling on the property. The property is situated in a residential area in Hammerkop Street. The property is owned by the municipality and measures approximately 1,115 square meters. The property is currently zoned single residential 1 on our zoning, Knysna Municipality zoning scheme. The subject property is currently a vacant land in between improved residential urbans. The subject property is currently valued at 350,000 on the general valuation roll. And the property was advertised on the local newspaper, and we did receive comments from the public. Okay, so the public comment was that they support the disposal of the property. However, it should be in a market, in an open market, so that people can have, because the applicant also is interested in the property, so it must be open to the public. So what we've said is that we will take the property out on tender. So we will not entertain an unsolicited bid of the property. It's in the prime area. There's an interest, there will be, or there is interest. So we will rather put it out on the open market. Some of the comments that came from the departments was that they are supporting this. However, we as properties must identify more single residential zone vacant land which are not needed for basic municipal services and be disposed in bulk. So not like a piecemeal type of thing like we're doing now. So we must, that is an exercise, I think that should be dealt with what's this, land audit. So that was the recommendations that they have, but they supported this. So we are saying, the recommendation is saying that the committee note this item, and that the property was advertised, and that we did receive one comment. And the comment says that the property must be put on a public tender, and that we are requesting that the advertising of this property without a municipal council approval be rectified and approved, and that the municipal manager appoint a registered valuer to determine the fair market value of the property, and that the property is not needed to provide minimum level basic needs, and that the municipal manager place the alienation of 596 on a public tender for residential purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Knysna. I've got Councillor Matika, then I've got Councillor Wasserman, then I've got Councillor Weideman. Matika. Okay. Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, the Technical Services Directorate have made the recommendation that properties should identify more single residential vacant properties which are not needed and be disposed of in bulk. Just want to ask them why they think so. And then recommendation H is that this be on a public tender. The Planning and Development Directorate had said that the property should be sold on an auction. Does the public tender actually mean an auction, or is it some other process? And then if it is an auction, will there be a reserve price that is determined? What would it be? And would the reserve price actually be adhered to? If you remember the properties we sold in Old Place, there was a problem in that the reserve price was not adhered to, and we were told at that stage that it didn't need to be. So just some clarity on what the process is there. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Weideman.
Thank you, Chair. Yes,
Councillor Matika, can you just hold on for a second? I did note you first, and then you took forever, so we're going to give the ladies first before we give to the gents.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this property is right in the center of a residential area. I do believe that it should be sold at the best way. But what I'm just thinking, why do we have to wait for bulk properties to be sold if we do have a buyer right now who wants to build a house? Why waste time and wait until we have a whole lot of properties to put on tender if we can get a buyer immediately for that property? And obviously it would mean an income for the municipality to sell it right now so a house could be built, so that rates could be charged. I'm just wondering why we should wait and not just sell it now because there is a buyer. Thank you.
Okay, Matika.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, you know, sometimes we like to make things difficult for our people, really. Because if I identify pieces, you guys know about it, and I said that I want to buy this piece of land because I want to build a house or something for myself, because I have identified this piece of land. And now I must struggle now to get that piece of land. Was I approached the municipality first? Now you want to put it on tender. Then someone else get that piece of land who was not even aware that there was a piece of land there. So really sometimes we like to make life difficult for our people. That's the reason we're having a lot of people that are taking land by force and then they apply for encroachment. You see, that's the reason we're getting people like that, because people will take that land and then they apply after. Because they know if this person is the only one saying to us to use that piece of land, then why don't we?
Councillor Matika, you are breaking up and somehow we lose you.
Anyone go and tender for that piece of land.
Okay. Are you finished?
I don't know if you did hear me, Chair.
No, we can't hear you. That is the thing. No, you're breaking. Now I can totally not hear you.
Chair, I'm sorry, man, I'm on my way to the office, but I was saying, Chair, that sometimes we make life difficult for our people. We are really not fair. If someone saw a piece of land, no one knew about that piece of land, and someone followed the right procedure and applied that piece of land to the municipality, because he said that there is a piece of land, I don't just want to go and build it, but I want to follow the right procedure. And then we are turning our backs and saying, no, let's put it on tender. Let's make it an open process. That piece of land has been there for all along. No one applied for it. So that's the reason many people, they don't apply for piece of land. They just use the land. After that, then they apply for encroachment. You see, we are finding that situation. So because we are having that thing, we are blocking our own people. So if people are applying for a piece of land, they are the only one. If one or two people that have applied for that piece of land, that's where I believe that we should do an open tender, because it's more than one person. But if it's only one person, the piece of land.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Councillor Weideman, I assume that's an old hand. Director Technical.
No, it's sorry. I just wanted to follow up there. Councillor Matika is actually right. You know, if there is somebody that wants to purchase that land, nobody knew about it before, as he said, and somebody has gone to all that trouble to actually apply for that land. It is standing there. It is a waste of money just to stand there. So I just think that one should sell it to the buyer that went to all the problems to actually apply for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Technical.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. I think from our side, we didn't want to block anybody or restrict anybody from getting access to land. It's just that we applied our mind a little bit to this idea of us selling off bits and pieces of land in developed areas. And when we thought about it and we said, here we have pockets of land within the developed areas of Knysna. And we said to ourselves, here's areas where there are already services. You've got water, you've got electricity, you've got sanitation already in those areas. And we as a municipality keep saying that we don't have land available to us. It was not to open the market up to tender. It was to say, where are these opportunities? Maybe we need to do a bit of introspection for ourselves and say, where are the pieces of land that we have already within the CBDs and those sorts of areas where services already exist, where we can look at putting, even if it's multi-story buildings or a double-story, and accommodate a certain number of people, so that we reduce the backlog in terms of housing and say that this is the land that we have available. The services are there already, because the cost of bringing services to some of these areas are the restrictive part of providing access to housing. So in terms of social housing and all of those things. So it wasn't to open the market up and make it available to everybody, but to do a bit of introspection and say, let's see where the possibilities are for us before we sell off pieces of land and determine what are the pieces of land and how do we best use it as an organization before we sell it off to individuals, because we obviously have a greater need for it. And once we've done that exercise, then if we've determined that it's unprofitable for us to do that, then we sell it off and say we no longer have a need for it. But once we have the bigger picture and we have a helicopter view of where these pieces of land are and how profitable it is for us to use it, then we can do that. It was just a thought. It was us looking at it, looking at the bigger picture and saying, this is the availability of land, this is the possibility of sites, this is the availability of keeping people within the CBD and in terms of social housing. So thank you, Madam Chair. That was just our thought. It was a comment that we made and tried to do a bit of thinking around the availability of the land. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Weideman. Councillor Weideman.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. I fully agree with what the technical director has said. Yes, I would love to do that in Karatra, where there are many people that are waiting for a piece of land, and to open up some land and sell it in bulk. And I know of a lot of people that would love to buy a piece of land that have been waiting for houses in Karatra. But one single piece of property that has been lying in an area for years and years, and the opportunity is now to sell it, I would say that not be part of a bulk situation, but I would really recommend that situation be put in Karatra, where I really believe that a lot of people are wanting to buy a piece of land there for housing, especially where they need the houses. And that's just my feel about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. I must say that in this item, I've read two applications. The one is Mr. Anthony Daisel and Stephanie Lane Daisel, and the other one is Sorita Fredericks. So I don't see that it is only one applicant that actually applied for purchasing this piece of land. I love what Ravir is saying, that we should do that. That we should do introspection on this piece of property. But I also know that there are people that's in need to own a piece of land on their name. So, committee members. Councillor Wasserman.
Yeah, Chair, I just still want to possibly get an answer, please, to my question about whether there's going to be an auction and the reserve price issue. I support the recommendation. I just want to know if it's going to be on an auction.
Okay, thank you. Knysna.
Okay, thank you, Chair. For me, I think a formal tender would be ideal because we would have control over it. For instance, if we put a call for proposals, we would already know what our minimum will be in terms of maybe when we do evaluation. For instance, if the property is valued, for instance, at 200,000, and then if we do a call for proposals, obviously people will send through their proposals, and then we will have control over that. And obviously we can get more than what we have put as a market, as a minimum that we would want. So I think a formal tender we will have control over, and we can make money from that. An auction, I'm a little bit skeptical because of what has happened previously. Sometimes the purchaser is in control of the auction, because if then the auctioneer puts out the property and they get a lowest bid, as they've, like the previous auctioneers have mentioned, that it's a buyer's market. An auction is actually a buyer's market. So I'm very skeptical using the auction method of disposal. So I think if we do a call for proposal, we would make that is a clean process. We have control over, and I think we can make money out of it. That's my view.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Sorry, Melanie.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just wanted to say that I support Nonhlanhla's suggestion with regards to a call for proposals, because we are perfectly entitled to put a reserve price on our call for proposals. Once we have received a market-related value for it, we put out a call for proposals and we say that this is the market-related value. And in terms of the legislation, that is where we are. That's the reserve price, and we cannot accept any bids below that market-related reserve.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman.
No, perfect. Thanks very much. I'm covered and happy with that. Thanks.
Okay, that means we're going with the recommendation as it is.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Can we move to the next item, which is the application to purchase the remainder of Sedge Warbler Street between ERF 195 and 203 Sedgefield. We also went on a site visit on that one, I think, Knysna.
Yes, we did, Chairperson. This application is to purchase the remainder of Sedge Warbler Street between ERF 195 and 203 Sedgefield. So properties received an application to purchase the third remainder of street from those attorneys. I can't pronounce the name. From those attorneys. According to the application, a developer had purchased a section of Sedge Warbler together with ERF 186, 2033, 1 of 64 and 2024 Sedgefield from the municipality, which was later consolidated to 4970 Sedgefield. So this, he's referring to SPA, the new SPA. Okay, so Sedge Warbler Street, so the SPA has bought a portion of Sedge Warbler. So this applicant is wanting to purchase what is remaining of it. So Sedge Warbler is situated between two properties that were purchased by the applicant. Which is ERF 195 and 203 Sedgefield. So these attorneys are representing the owner of Pick n Pay. So the owner of Pick n Pay owns 195 and 203 and wants to now purchase the remainder of Sedge Warbler. Okay, so the remainder of the street was to remain as a public road. However, the applicant is requesting to purchase that section, and also he is saying that, or they are saying that the developer must remove the electrical substation installed on the remainder of the street. The property is owned by the municipality, the road, of course. It is situated in the residential area of Sedge Road. Sedge-Welbler Street is zone transport zone 2, and primary use is a public road. And obviously, for what purpose he wants to consolidate the property, so the necessary rezoning approvals would need to be applied for. Okay, what else? There's no, okay, a GV, a general valuation could not be obtained for the street. Okay, another point is that a larger Sedge-Welbler, the remainder of Sedge-Welbler, will not be needed to provide minimum level basic services, as a larger portion of the road had already been sold by the municipalities to the owners of the said earths that I've mentioned, which is SPAR. Although a section of the road has an electrical substation, the electrical department advised that the property can be alienated, subject to the applicant bearing the costs to move the substation to a suitable and acceptable location. This has not been advertised. Should it be approved, then it will be advertised on newspapers and everything. So the comments from the relevant departments was that, so I think, okay, let me start with technical services. So technical services that they're approving, they're supporting this, subject to the applicant relocating all services, including the substation, at their own cost to a location suitable and identified by technical services. Planning said the size of the remainder of the portion of the street is too small to facilitate any development thereupon. The alienation of this portion will need to be subject to a consolidation with one of the adjacent urban in order to prevent future alienation thereof as an individual earth due to the size. So the applicant will need to do formal rezoning applications. Okay, so a valuer will be appointed for this if approved to determine the market value for this property. So our recommendation is saying we request that you note this report and that the municipal manager appoint a registered valuer to determine a fair market value for the remainder of Sedge-Welbler Street, that the intended alienation be advertised, that the property is not needed or the portion is not needed to provide minimum level basic needs, and that the applicant be responsible for other costs relating to the purchase of the remainder of the street, including the relocation of all municipal services on Sedge-Welbler Street to a suitable location identified by infrastructure services, technical services. Thank you.
Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Just the comment by the Planning Directorate is that the applicant will need to submit formal applications in respect of the rezoning and consolidation of the remainder of the street. Is it necessary to put that in the recommendations, or is it something that has to happen in the normal course in any event? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Levale. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to find out by the officials, how will this affect the trading of SPAR? Because SPAR is currently trading and trading very well. So will the removing of that station, how will it affect affect SPAR, the trading of SPAR? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wants to answer those two questions, please? Director Planning.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would agree with Councillor Wasserman's proposal that if the comments from planning can be taken up in terms of the recommendations, particularly with respect to the consolidation of the street portion now with one of the adjacent urban, and the requisite land use applications be brought to effect.
Thank you, Councillor Director Technical.
Yes, Madam Chair. I would, to answer Councillor Davis's question, I don't think there will be any impact on the services from a technical point of view. I think the supply of the electricity won't be affected. That's the issue under consideration. That road the SPA doesn't have access to their property from that particular road, so I don't think there will be any impact from a service delivery point of view. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Wasserman, your hand is still up, and Councillor Davis.
It shouldn't be. Sorry, Chair. I'll take it down.
Thank you.
Councillor
I'm also
Davis.
covered. I'm covered as long as it doesn't impact the trading ability of. I'm just sorry. I just got a bit worried when you said you must move the electricity, because because then they'll have to close and all that and move. But I obviously never understood it correctly. But thank you for that clarity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are we going with the recommendations?
Chair, are we adding that recommendation with regards to the planning applications?
Chair,
Matika?
where is Bali?
Please, Matika, don't take us back now. We need to add the recommendation from the planning department onto this recommendation. And I just need to make sure, Carl, did you capture what the director planning said so that it can be added to this recommendation? Councillor Weideman.
Yes, Madam Chairperson. We added that as an additional recommendation. However, I think you should remember that after the advertisement for public comment of the alienation, the item would most probably come back. So with other words, that would then be the final time that council would consider the actual alienation, because then you would have a value, you would have comments of the public, you could then add all the other recommendations or approval, whatever you wish to add at that point in time. But we will add it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Councillor Weideman.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask the property manager there, the picture that they are showing in this item, where they show the two houses. This is a very old picture, because I think it all shows open property behind these two houses. And I'm just wondering if the SPA is actually built on that property on Earth 4970. So that there might be quite an impact then on the SPA trading.
Okay, Councillor Weideman, do you have a question?
No, I just want to see that this picture that they're showing, the plan, seems to be quite old, because it doesn't show the actual buildings of the SPA, which is already there.
No, we went on a site visit, and I know the picture doesn't do justice to the exact situation that is happening there. But yeah, there was a invitation for a site visit, although I know what happened there. No, Shlasha?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for that. I think it's a picture that I downloaded a while ago. So in the next meeting, I'll have a more recent picture. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go with the recommendations and the one that was added from the Planning Directorate. Committee members?
Yes, thanks, Chair.
Okay, we're on 7.6, intention to enter into a long lease agreement, portion F1406, Knysna, Old Konuti Senza restaurant. Councillors, after this item, there's only one item on the properties, which will be on 233, and then we will have a 15-minute break. After that item, then we know we are done with the properties department. So on this one, Knysna, can you take us through?
Okay. The purpose of this is to request council to follow supply chain process in relation to the expression of interest for the use, manage and control of 1406 Knysna, and to request council to extend the rental period from 9 years. I think it was already 20 years. I think that's an error on our side. It was already approved at 20 years. I will sum it up because I think I wasn't here before this, but I will just summarize what I wanted to say on this item. So the item the property was advertised twice already. It was firstly advertised on a 9-year period, and municipality did not receive any interest. And then again on a 20-year period, and council did not receive any response of bidders. So the intention now is to ask council to try again and advertise the property for the third time. I think the second time I joined the municipality when it had just been advertised for the second time. And for me, the specifications that were done, and also from the applicants that had applied, because I also engaged with them, that the specifications were not user-friendly in a way, in terms of property requirements and long-term lease type of requirements. So what I'd done is I had already started doing new specifications for the third round. And however, I was informed that in terms of, requirements or regulations, we need to go back to council and say, can we now try for the third time because we already advertised it twice. So the specifications have been reviewed. The specifications have been made user-friendly. And we're now asking, because now the property has been vacant for so long, and we are incurring costs in terms of security costs. And in addition, the property is dilapidating. And now we are asking to try again and take it out on an open tender again, because there is interest for this. There's a large interest. I think I have about, if I can just estimate, about more than 7 or 8 interested people on this property. So there is interest for it as it stands now. And I think it will be beneficial for the municipality to just try one more time and take it out on tender and try to lease it. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you, Knysna. I see Councillor Mathieu, I see Councillor Wasserman. I noted the hand of Director Corporate. Matika, your hand was up. Let's do ladies first. Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Chairperson, I'm happy with the recommendation. I just want to know whether in B we need to add the fact that the period is for 20 years, or can it be left without specifying a period?
Okay. Councillor Matika.
Chair, if I hear correctly, in terms of the background, we are saying that this portion of the property has been advertised twice without any bidder applying. Now we're having some people that will have applied for this building. And then because of that, now we want to re-advertise it. And Chair, I'm still saying again, it's incorrect. We are doing the wrong thing, the wrong way. Why don't we give people that were applied to use this piece of land or this piece of property? Why don't we give them? Need to change the recommendation and give these people their land because they have applied for this land. Because this thing has been coming for quite some time. If you are saying that we must re-advertise again, I can tell you, Chair, by next year, March, April, still this property will not be used yet. Because that process is still going to take time. We still have to finalize, drafting the documents and all those stuff. So I'm saying, Chair, that I don't want to agree with the recommendation. I strongly feel that whoever made an application must give them a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Director Corporate, do you want to go now or do you want to go last?
No, I can go last or now, Chair. It doesn't matter for me.
Okay, then I think let's just do it like that. Let's just give Councillor Matiwani. It's not Kirsty's hand that is up, it is the DM's hand. He's got innovative ways of being part of a meeting. So it is not Kirsty's hand, it is the DM's hand, and then Councillor Wasserman. Then we will have Director Corporate last. So Matiwani, DM, Councillor Wasserman.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, mine is saying that if we advertise 2 times, now a black person apply for a land. Now we have to go and apply supply chain policies and all of those. To me,
the network is killing us, Matiwani. Matiwani, you are breaking up. Councillor Matiwani, I can't hear anything you are saying. You are breaking up. Councillor Matiwani, we can't hear anything you are saying.
We short of money, this municipality, this is the
Matiwani, please sort out your network. We can't hear you. Okay. Councillor Matiwani, we can't hear you. DM?
Yes, Chair.
The floor is
thank you
yours.
very much, Chair. Chair, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Is it Matiwani or it's me? It's me.
It's you, it's you.
Oh, Chair, thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Chairperson, I just want to check first and foremost as to when I read the recommendation, I'm not quite sure, maybe I did not capture some of the stuff in the background. I wanted to understand why must the center be re-advertised again, Chairperson? If I can be clarified there, in fact, Chairperson, that's my fundamental question. Why must we re-advertise a center again? But I said I want to move, Chair. Chairperson, from where we're sitting as a municipality, all of us, we know for the fact that we are financially challenged. We are having some financial problems. Chair, am I still audible?
I can hear you now.
Chair, I've tried to phone.
Can you hear me now, Chair?
They cannot come inside. Mine is to support.
Someone is talking.
Thomas given land. Please convey my inner meeting.
I will phone you.
Any voting that needs to take place, you phone me live. I'll vote with the phone.
Okay.
Because I'm having a problem of network. You could.
Deputy, try again.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Kirsty. Chairperson, once again, and good morning, everyone. Chair, I'm going to be very brief, Chairperson, because what I wanted to understand from the very beginning as to why must we re-advertise again. Remember, this thing has been advertised, if I'm not mistaken, for 3 times ever since we have joined council in 2016. You know, and that particular building have been standing empty there, being vandalized. Council is wasting a lot of money on a monthly basis in terms of organizing or appointing a security personnel to look after that particular building. So that's why I wanted to understand, Chair, as to why must we advertise? Yes, we went on tender, and there are 2 gentlemen which have tendered. You know, and they've got a very nice proposal. And the worst part of it, those guys are local boys. They're both from Flinders. And I wanted to understand, Chair, why must we continue wasting money? Why must we continue wasting money while we all know our situation in council? You know, and if those, the guys are prepared to take it and list it for 10, 15 years, why don't we give it to them? I wanted to understand, Chairperson. And if I can be given a reason why, Chair, I'm going to come back. You know, other than that, I think my viewpoint is very straightforward that let's give those people which have tendered, submitted the tender, Chair. Let's change that recommendation and allow an opportunity to people to Christoph Knysna. You know, one of the can be called, if I may put it that way. He once worked into Senza a couple of years ago. I mean, he knows and understands. You know, what you call. You know, that business which need to be done there. So, Chair, I really want to support the proposal. What Matika have just said. There's no need for us to go for proposal, Chair. And I know going on tender, it costs the council a lot of money. We've already lost a lot of money on security. We've already lost a lot of money in the vandalism which have been taking place into that particular building. So I therefore want to move to say, I don't really see a reason why must we go again on tender. Up unless, then I'm going to be told now another reason. They've called tenders. People have tendered. Why don't we consider those who have tendered? Chair, that's basically my question, and I'll come back. I'll wait for the response. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Corporate.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think maybe first, before the responses to the issues raised by the Deputy Mayor, I would also like to have the legal manager assisting here in terms of the processes, the legal processes, in light of the submission made by the applicants wanting to lease that particular property. Yes, we are all aware that we had gone out and asked for proposals for a number of times. I think twice by the time I'm here. We went out on tender requesting for proposals from prospective bidders. But unfortunately, that process did not yield any results, any desired results, even though we had increased the period of lease, looking at what the the developer or whoever gets the tender would invest in that property. Now, if there are now submissions outside the process that we had taken, which is an SCM process, and I think we are legally bound to follow that process, we received another proposal or another request to be considered by the municipality. Now, I am not sure, Chairperson, if we would be correct, because that would be deemed as an unsolicited bid. Hence, I was saying the legal manager can come in on that particular aspect raised by the deputy mayor and Councillor Matika. But the bottom line in this particular issue, councillors will recall that sometime in February, when Dr. Gratz was acting, this matter was discussed and there was a view that let us consider disposing of that property by way of selling. But looking at the various options, that should we keep that property and we would derive income from it in the form of lease, but a person who has won the tender or got the tender to operate it would then operate it on a 20-year lease, which would be reviewed by council at every stage at about five-year intervals. Now, hence this item came back to say, let us try again and put it up for proposals, because I don't think that the regulations would allow us, but yeah, we would depend on the advice from the legal services manager. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director. I think I'm going to, in this sense, also give to the legal advisor, and then I will give councillors another round.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the answer to the Deputy Mayor's question is very easy. We cannot act outside of what this legislation allows us to do. Any award outside of the legislative prescripts would amount to an irregular expenditure. Irregular expenditures we know has wide-ranging repercussions, specifically with the amendments to what the Auditor General is entitled to do in that regard. Once the BAC has taken a decision on the tender, which they have done in this instance, the BAC becomes functus officio, and one can only set aside the decision of the BAC on appeal if it is under 10 million, and they've done so in terms of a delegated authority. The other option available to an aggrieved bidder is to take the municipality on review and have the decision to not award the tender to them set aside. The Director Corporate Services is also correct that the other option available is to consider an unsolicited bid. But again, you're going to have to meet the criteria for unsolicited bids as set out in the regulations and the legislation. So those are the answers to the Deputy Mayor's questions as to why we cannot simply award the tender to the tenderers that he has mentioned now previously. It is unfortunately the legislative prescript in which we operate, which we can unfortunately not ignore. And especially when it comes to any government authority dealing with its assets, we cannot work outside of what the legislation provides for us to do. So the option is, as the head of properties has stipulated in the recommendation, for us to again go out for a call for proposals. Alternatively, for council to consider disposing of the property as a whole and not enter into any type of lease agreement. But unfortunately, what both the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Matika, I think you've also raised that issue. Unfortunately, that cannot be done.
Thank you. I've got the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Wasserman and Councillor Tiokolo. I think the Deputy Mayor is still muted. So,
There we go. Deputy's online. Sorry, Councillor. Sorry about that. Deputy, you can speak. Sorry about that, Councillor. I've lost his call, so sorry, Chair. Carry on.
Councillor Wasserman and Councillor Tiokolo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I must say what I've just heard is shocking, that the Deputy Mayor of the town would suggest that we just give the property to those guys that we know. It's shocking, but it's not surprising that the ANC would suggest that we do not follow legal process. But Chairperson, we
Councillor Wasserman, I do believe you are out of order to make a suggestion. I don't think the Deputy Mayor said give.
No, he did. No, he did. He used those words. He said, let's give it to those boys.
Language is not English, and
He
that
said,
is not what he
give
said.
it to those boys. I heard him loud and clear, and you can play the recording.
Councillor
It's
Wasserman, that
absolutely
is not
shocking.
what the Deputy Mayor intended to say.
And we'll check it. But be that as it may, there was the suggestion that we not follow the legal process, and that is completely unacceptable. We have to follow the legal process. There are, as Nomhlanhla said, 7 or 8 interested people, and they must have a fair opportunity to compete with one another in a legislated process. So I suggest we go with the recommendations, see what it is that comes up from that, and then decide whether we're going to alienate that property or whether there is a proposal that we want to go with. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you,
Chairperson.
Councillor Tiokolo.
Chairperson.
Councillor Matika, let's just give Tiokolo an opportunity. He hasn't spoken for the whole morning.
Yeah, that's bad.
Councillor Tiokolo? I think Councillor Tiokolo has problems with his network and with his speaker. So there is not a sound coming from his side. Matika?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, you know, English is not our first language. It's not our mother tongue language. So maybe interpretation will not be the same. But nevertheless, Chair, I don't think there's anyone who have said that we must do an illegal thing here. We are saying that this is not the first time the application like this in this municipality are taking place. We are saying that these people have applied for that land with no one. There was no even a tenant. The tenant was there for two years, and it was quiet. Now suddenly there are people that who have seen that land and they see that it's been vacant, that property for some time, and they believe that they can use that property to do ABCD, so that that property could also bring investment, so that that property could also create job opportunities for our people. Because that property really has been standing there for quite since 2017, without any we are receiving nothing there, not a cent in rent and pay, in rent and tax, in rental. So we have said that we are not saying that we should take illegal decisions. But if the legal are saying that it is no way we can do it like that, then which is fine. Let's go to open tender process. But we are not saying that we must take illegal decisions. We're saying that because here in front of us, we're talking about application that is in front of us. If we were saying that we knew there's some people that we knew that they have not even made application, then that could have been something else. We are talking what is in front of us. Yeah, the application that is in front of us. That these are the owners who are here, and here is the background. Some of them, they work in that restaurant. So they are interested in running because they see that this property has been standing there since 2016. There's nothing that is happening. So I don't think we're incorrect when raising our views in this meeting. This is a meeting where we should raise our view if we feel, and we must be corrected in such. So the legal advice is saying that no, we cannot because of ABCD. If the legal advice again is saying that, it's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, am I audible enough? Chair, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
No, Chairperson, thank you very much, man. Chair, I think I'm covered. Part of what Councillor Matika have just raised here, he have really covered me, Chair. You know, Chairperson, I must also register my disappointment on Councillor Wasserman. You know, I'm very disappointed on you, and I want to call you to say, please don't be chachara, Councillor Wasserman. When we raise our views here, we are raising our views in a meeting of council, right? And I'll ask you, Chairperson, and I'll demand an answer now. How much are we spending into that building? I mean, hiring of the security. How much is this council wasting, by the way? And there's the director just stipulated that. I mean, ever the 3 years which she's been with us. I mean that this thing has been put out of tender for 2 consecutive time. And I remember, Chair, I'm here. This is my 4th year now. If my memory serves me very well, I mean, we are going for the 3rd time now. If we are going to go again in a tender process, it's going to be a 4th time, Chair. And this council is losing money. And last time I checked, people like Councillor Wasserman, these are one of the few councillors who are very skeptical in terms of wasting money. I do not understand what is the rationale today. None of us says, Chair, yeah, we want to give a municipal property illegally. That's correct, Chair. That's incorrect. That's why I just wanted to correct Councillor Wasserman. Then if that's what the law says, I don't have a problem with that, Chair. What we need to be mindful of is the waste of the municipal money. We're not getting nothing out of that particular building. And Matika is quite correct, you know. And the Chair, I think last but not least, and I'm quite sure Councillor Wasserman, and I'll accept the explanation from the manager legal. And I'm quite sure, you are not raising what you have raised because of the skin color of those people which have tendered now. Knysna September, Thabo September, as well as Thembinkosi Phansi. And I'm quite sure. And I must say, Chair, before I conclude, I'm very disappointed in you, Councillor. You know, none of us says that we want to give the municipal the property for nothing, or we want to use an illegal process. You know, I think I want to call. Let me call you before. You know, so that we can agree as we move. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DM. Maybe Melanie wants to answer the question that the DM has asked. Councillor Wasserman.
Chairperson, I just want to say that it is actually completely unacceptable when you're caught out in trying to circumvent a legal process that you then play the race card. It's absolutely appalling.
Councillor Wasserman, I do believe that all councillors was actually asking questions. And they were answered through the Director Corporate Services. They were also answered through the Manager Legal. So I wouldn't say that you are now saying that you called out someone. It's only fair for someone to ask a question because administration is there to advise you. I think that was happened here. And you totally, jy het die hele ding uit proporsie het geraadsel het Wasserman. DM, I think we are finished on this now. Can we move?
No, Chair, you please, Chair, you cannot move without me, without the director, the manager, legal, responding to my question. I wanted to understand how much money are we wasting. I'm not disputing the fact that, Chair, let's if there is a legal route, I don't dispute that. Hence, I've said that I accept the explanation from manager legal. I don't have a problem about that. But I wanted to understand, Chair, you know, how much are we spending into that particular building? Because I'm told the securities, they were looking after that particular building for a couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you, DM. Manager Legal.
Chairperson, thank you. Firstly, the security guard that we have employed has not been for a couple of years. Nonhlanhla can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have only recently placed a permanent security guard there. We have previously only had an alarm system there that was monitored by guards. I think it was All Sound at the time that had the tender, but now with gap management, we have placed a permanent security guard there as a result of vandalization that has taken place at the property. I won't necessarily, Deputy Mayor, agree that we are wasting money with the cost of the security guard there. Legislatively, we are required to ensure that the assets of council is protected. And if we did not place the guard there, we would have allowed the building to be vandalized even further and then lose even more value with it standing there vacant. I think the actual point, Deputy Mayor, and I don't want to talk for you, that you're trying to make is that we are in fact losing money, and what is the cost here to council is the fact that that property has been standing vacant for so long, and that we urgently need to address the fact that it is standing vacant, and for us to proceed to either get a tenant or for council to decide, because it's not the decision of the administration, to dispose of the entire building. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank
Chair.
you,
Chair.
Melanie. Councillor DM.
Chair, thank you very much. Chair, I don't mean to be out of order, and apologies for that. Let me apologize in advance. Chair, I wanted to understand figures here. I wanted to understand figures. The security which the manager is referring to, All Sound, council have paid money. You know, the alarm which she made reference of, the council have paid money. We are currently paying money, Chair. So I wanted to understand how much money are we wasting there, Chair. I wanted figures now, Chairperson. Otherwise, if there's no response, it's fine. I don't want people to be rhetoric here. I want a response, a direct answer. I want to know figures. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Kirsty, can you just put your hand down? Councillor Wasserman, is that an old hand or a new hand?
Chair, my hand is not up at all.
Okay, Kirsty, can you put your hand down? Committee, are we going with the recommendations as it is? Councillors?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Oh, fuck. You got a voice now.
Chair,
Chair,
my apologies, Chair. I'm having a terrible time here trying to connect. I don't know what's happening with the network here. But yeah, it's fine. Continue, Chair. Thanks.
Councillor Chakolo, you must go to your councillor. You have a ward councillor, which is Matiwane. Go sit there next to him in the office.
I asked a question right in the beginning about whether we need to add the term of the proposed lease in our recommendation, or whether it can be left out.
I think we need to put it into our recommendation.
It must.
Melanie, put your hand up, ne? We need to put it in our recommendation. And we agree that the term is 20 years. Councillor
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Okay. Can we amend the recommendation as such and then move with the recommendation? Just amend.
Yes.
Thank you. Can we go to item 7.14 on page 233? That is the last item on properties. Okay. Knysna, can you take us through on this one?
Sorry, Chair, I'm just trying to find my pages. What page is it again?
Okay, on our agenda, it is 233.
Okay, I found it. Thank you. This item is coming back to the section 80. We had presented it at the council meeting, and it was requested that it be sent to the section 80, and that what's this thing? A site inspection be conducted by the members. This was done. I can't remember the date now. I think it was in September, within September or October, sorry, in October. I can't remember the date. But the site inspection was conducted with the members of the committee. So nothing has changed much from this item. It is still to request council to consider disposing of this property in a way of requesting for proposals and us getting a market valuation for the property and having the conditions as stipulated on the recommendation. So nothing has changed. The only thing that was requested was the committee go out on inspection before the item comes back, so that the committee can debate the item. I think that's it from me.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions on this? I know we went on a site visit. Myself, Councillor Matika and Councillor Teokolo. Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, on page 236 are the recommendations. My first question is on recommendation G, which says, should only one qualifying bid be received, that the acting municipal manager be authorized to negotiate with a qualifying bidder, and that the final proposal be submitted to council for approval. So just in terms of process, Chair, that negotiation with the qualifying bidder, does that then, what are they negotiating exactly? Is it to come to an agreement, and therefore what is then coming to council? And if it's not to come to an agreement, what are they negotiating? Then, Chairperson, in recommendation F, it says, should there be more than one qualifying proposal, a closed tender be advertised to the qualifying bidders. Chair, does that come to council as well for final approval? Because I think it's necessary for council to see what it is that the proposal is about. It talks about that the development be such that it enhances the appearance and the utilization of the prime area in town. But who's going to decide whether it in fact meets that criteria? So those two questions. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Wasserman. I just need to understand, Nonhlanhla, this picture that is here, this is the original picture? Because I believe when we went on a site visit, we then said that there's certain parts which we felt that shouldn't be alienated, shouldn't be disposed of. Like access to the beach, and also I think that one street where people still has access to enter in town. Matika?
Chair, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, just, I don't have a problem alienating the property. Chair, mine is just simple, and I want to ask again. I don't know how many times I've been asking. But first, let me ask, who have done this valuation of these two properties here? Because really, there is no flipping way that property 1339 could be valued at 10,000 unless it's an administration error. There's no way property of 1339 could be valued currently at the 10,000. A land that is on prime property next to Tizen Island. This land is next to Tizen Island, and you are saying that it could be on a value of 10,000 rand. If I'm reading correctly, maybe it's an administration error. I just want to check really, is this the amounts we receive from our valuers? Was really, these properties could not value this amount? Just want to ask that question. Who has done this valuation wrong? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wasserman, is your hand still up?
No, Chair, I'm not sure why you're seeing my hand when it's not there.
I'm seeing it. I'm also still seeing Kirsty's hand.
No, they're down. There's only Deputy Mayor and, yeah, Deputy Mayor's hands up.
Okay, Matika, take your hand down. Knysna, can you answer that, please? And I believe that if we want a second opinion on the valuation, that we must put it in our recommendation, that we want a second opinion on the valuation of the properties. Knysna?
Hi, sorry, Chairperson. I have Marilyn with me. As when I was doing the item, she assisted me together with the acting MM. I don't think the acting MM is here, but Marilyn can answer on those two, F and G.
Thank you, Chairperson. Myself and Knysna, the acting MM, discussed the recommendations on this item, and the MM advised that we should add recommendation F and G. I think if the committee has further guidelines on how they want the proposals to be outlined, I think the committee can provide guidelines to the property section on specifics that they want to be included in the proposals, or rather the specifications if we go out on proposals. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Marilyn. Matika, is your hand up? Yes.
Chairperson, I don't know if my dad is Xhosa now. Do you have a translator here?
No, we do not have a translator here. So you'll just have to speak English.
Chair, I think I've not been answered.
No, you haven't.
I've asked a simple question. Here, page 234, it says that F1339 Knysna is valued in terms of valuation roll for a period of July 2017 until 30th June 2022 at the 10,000. That F is valued for 10,000. This is a prime property that is there next to Tizen. There's no way. And if you go there to the background on page 233, it clearly says that whoever wants to buy this portion of land is willing to pay 10 million for that portion of land. This is not the first thing, remember, Chair, this is not the first thing that item like this happen. Whereas the person wants to buy for millions, and then when our valuers always value them below 10,000 or 20,000, there can never be any property or any piece of land in town. Let's leave it that is next to Tizen Island. Let's leave the one. But to be realistic, there can never be any piece of land in the CBD that can be valued for 10,000. Whilst in northern areas, when our people wants to buy an encroached piece of land, they'll be charged 30,000 rand. I can make reference. Then here in town where there is development, where there is everything, we're charging up. We are saying that the value is 10,000. So I still want to know what is happening with our valuers. Is this our own valuers or is it the independent one? Thank you very much.
Can anyone assist Councillor Matika on this one?
Sorry, Councillor. Yes, this information was obtained from our general valuation role, which is conducted by our municipal valuer, which is the DDP valuers. So the information was taken from the GV. However, if we should now dispose of this property, obviously we will need to do a request to get a new valuation, market valuation as at to date, presumably from them again, or we can get an independent valuer to do a valuation on the property. I also believe it's a prime property. It's well situated. And yeah, if council feels we get a second opinion or a different valuation, we can do that. If they are not comfortable with us utilizing DDP to determine the value of these properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Knysna. I think we must add it in the recommendation that we want a valuation from an independent valuer. Because a prime property can't be 10,000 rand. I mean, it just cannot be. Matika, is your hand up or down?
So sorry, Chair, can you first take the others, then I'll come back. But because I still have a follow-up. Can you take Councillor
There's no
Wasserman?
others, there's only you.
Oh, I see Councillor Wasserman, I see, okay.
There's 4 hands.
Oh, I do not see the hands, unfortunately, sorry, apologies. Councillor Wasserman?
Chair, it's me and Councillor Chokolo and Jacques Carstens and Councillor Matika.
Okay, in that order, councillors, can we do that? Why am I not seeing hands?
Chair, so still my questions with regards to process for F&G remains, and I'm hesitant to say that I'm happy to go with a recommendation if it hasn't been explained. If the acting municipal manager is not here to explain it and no one else can, then can I suggest if we're going to have a special Section 80 in any event before the MACO that we then have him explain it there, because I think it's very important for me at least to understand what the process is with regards to council's involvement in the in this process. And perhaps at the same time there can also be an elaboration on the specifications, which I think it's important, Chairperson, that we have an idea in our minds of what it is that we want to do that is a little more clear than enhancing the appearance and the utilization of this prime area in town. So my suggestion, actually, Chairperson, is that we postpone this to a special meeting so that we can get those explanations from the acting MN.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. The next person, I also heard that the acting CFO's hand is up. Oh, Councillor Tiokolo, I heard your hands there. Councillor Tiokolo. Okay, he probably has speaker problems. Acting CFO.
Madam Chair, yes, it can be that the general valuation role is determining that pieces of vacant land at the moment is valued at 10,000 Rand and 50,000 Rand each. But it's clear that the market thinks otherwise because there is an offer of 10 million, although there is a valuation provided that it's valued at 12 million. And that's why this acting MM has said in the recommendation C that we are paying another current market valuation for the properties. So because nothing has happened on that piece of land in the past, it can be that the current valuation role, the value is very low, but the market will determine otherwise, and we will definitely not sell it for 10,000 Rand. It was probably 10 million plus.
Thank you, acting CFO. Matika, is there any more hands besides Matika?
Yes, Chair, Councillor Chikolo's hand is up.
Okay. Councillor Chikolo, do you have a voice? Hey, network is against him. Councillor Chikolo, do you have a voice? I think Councillor Chikolo's sound speaker is gone. Can't hear anything. Is there another hand?
Councillor Matika's hand is up.
No, Chair, thank you very much. Chair, I want us in future, this is not the first time that we are having skeptical because of our way our properties are valued. So in future, we need to review our TTP valuers. If we need to appoint another service provider to redo all our properties and recheck really in terms of our value, because something is not right. And something really is not right in terms of how our properties are valued. There is no way in the CBD you can value the property for that amount. Thank you very much. I'm not going to go forward with any other thing, but I will say that in future, we need to relook at it. Because if any person said that I want that thing for 10 million, and then you are saying it's 10,000, and then now we are saying that we must advertise it. So I don't know, in terms of our tender process, we're going to look at price, or we're going to look at in terms of local citizens or any other thing. I don't know. So if it's valued at 10,000, I can maybe tender for 20,000 rand, because at least I have more than what is the current value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Committee, so are we saying we're letting this item stand over till the next, till our special section 80, because we still have 5 items that didn't come to the section 80, and it is a report back items. We went on a site visit. I don't know, Lezuko, can you hear me? When we went to Rienendaal, and those items, if that items can also be present. But Councillor Wasserman, are we taking this one to a special section 80 where the MM is present to answer on this?
I would really appreciate that, Chair. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. I would then recommend that we do this on the morning of the Mako, or maybe a day before the Mako, because it won't happen. But a date will be communicated ASAP, committee members. Councillors, it is now like 11:45. Can we take a 15-minute break and be back at 12?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Oh, I need the toilet. Councillors, are we back? Let me just do a roll call, make sure that my committee members are here. Councillor Matiwani. Technology.
I'm here, Chair. Chair, I'm here.
You here? Councillor Wasserman, I don't see Councillor Tiokolo.
Chair, I know that he was having such bad connection problems and he got in his car to just quickly rush to the office so that he can log in from there. So he's probably busy doing that.
Okay, and Councillor Matiwani is also not in. I think if we just take a minute or two and see if we can I can just try and connect with these councillors.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Sure. Councillor Wasserman, councillors, officials, I've been in contact with both Matiwani and Councillor Teokolo, and they do not have network. They are actually close to each other at the same building, and they do not have network where they are. So in this case, can we postpone, because we are not a quorum, that I'm sure of. Carl, can you guide us? Councillor, Councillor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. The quorum is 3 members.
Okay, Carl, in this case, we are not a quorum, which means that we can't continue with this meeting. So can we postpone this meeting for our special Section 80 meeting, of which we will then, a date will be communicated to the committee members?
That's fine,
Councillor.
Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you, officials, committee members, councillors, for attending this. A date for the special Section 80 for Finance and Corporate Services will be communicated. It will be before the MACO meeting in this regard. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Person.
Thank you, Chair.